you feel like attending Exeter Pride kind of changed how you felt about yourself and your identity and things like that?
Yeah, I do think it was really lovely in the sense that it allowed me to explore areas of myself that I didn't want to, if that makes sense. Like, kind of, like, because for a long time I was just going to be like, yeah, I just, you know, I feel very confused, but I'm just going to kind of push it to a side and pretend it's, like, not there. But seeing everybody, especially with, like, seeing everybody with their different flags and seeing everybody identifying really differently, but still coming together as one unit. And obviously there's work with, like, intersectionality and stuff, because obviously, yeah, the community is still a little bit divided, which would be nice to solve. But I think seeing everybody identifying differently and still, like, to the most extent coming together as a community allowed me to be like, okay, I'm going to find a label that is fitting for me, and I'm going to feel included in this community no matter how I choose to identify.
I don't feel like it has to be kind of a fixed thing that once I decide about it, like I came out as non-binary a couple of years ago, which is not something I really thought like I could be with how I look and how I dress and things like that. And then I was like, okay, actually, like, there's multiple ways that this can look. It doesn't have to be just like, you know, really androgynous looking. It doesn't have to mean that. So I think for me, that's one of the good things about Pride. It's like, oh, you know, being whatever it is can look like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, so like you can go into there and you can be like, oh, look, that feminine person, the person who's presenting really femininely identifies as non-binary. The person over there that looks really masculine is also identifying as non-binary. And it's not just the really stereotypically androgynous people that are identifying like that. No, that's such a good point. No, I completely agree with that. The thing that I find really good about Exeter Pride as well is that, like, it still feels as if it is a protest. Like, because I feel like a lot of, and I'm going to use, like, Exmouth as an example, which still, like, they have activism to, like, a certain extent there. But I feel like a really good thing, like you were saying with the march as well, that, like, people are holding up signs and there's, like charities there that are, like, promoting themselves. And I think for me that's the main thing. Obviously enjoyment and liberation is great and I love that, and it comes with, but I think that comes alongside with the protest. Like, you can be liberated because we're fighting for, like, ourselves as a community. But I think the main thing that, like, I'd like to continue to see and have been seeing is the activism within the, like, parade and everything. I think that's, like, the main thing that I really like about Exeter Pride. People seem to want to cater Pride events and, like, the community towards the, like, allies and the people that aren't, like, people are trying to cater things that are supposed to be for the community for, like, the white cis het people to, like, make it more digestible for them, when it's like people aren't gonna like it no matter how much you try and morph it and squish it into, like, hello, like, white cis straight people, this is our culture that you can understand. Whereas being able to branch out and making everybody there feel included is, like, a completely different, like, topic in itself.
We had a little bit of pushback from because we put at the Rainbow Fair, we put on a drag king competition.
Yeah.
And, like, we got a bit of a pushback from, like, the drag queens. It's like, oh, why are you, like, excluding us? Why can't it be us? And I'm like, I know you're in a dress, but you are still, like, a cis guy, gay guy.
Yeah.
I know you're wearing a dress, but that doesn't take away from it. Like, whereas a lot of these drag kings are, like, you know, non-binary or trans men or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was really, really successful, so I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah.
But just the fact that drag queens are seen as, like, being really important, but drag kings aren't seen as being as important.
I don't know, I think it's because as well, like, people have gotten used to the idea of drag queens. Like, people who aren't part of the community have kind of, to some extent, like, taken that as part of, like, themselves as well. Like, especially with, like, RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff, like, everybody knows about that. Like, everybody's kind of gotten used to the idea of drag queens. Obviously there's still a lot of controversy about the whole thing, but because it's a more socially acceptable element of the community, Like, that's what people seem to want to stick to and push that out as like the forefront, and like, this is what happens at Pride, guys. You can come watch a drag queen. You like drag queens, right? You saw them on RuPaul's Drag Race, but come on, you can come down. Whereas people, I think, seem to be a bit more scared to present something that people that aren't in the community might not like, even though the point of it is to liberate people in the community that are doing those things. Yeah. It's scary to like promote things and normalize things that aren't normalized. It's so much easier to keep promoting the stuff that people have accepted or borderline accepted or nearly accepted. But like putting on like protests and demonstrations about things that people aren't comfortable with is like 10 times like more difficult. We've even seen like in the past few months that if we're not continuously working for our rights, they're gonna get pushed back. Like we've even seen obviously like with the trans youth in like the school system, like it's still a massive battle that people that aren't in the community don't really see. I think a lot of people were even shocked when obviously like when conversion therapy was banned, like recently, for gay people, still not trans people, which is wild. And I think loads of people were shocked that was still a thing, because that wasn't like talked about, because why would people that aren't being affected by it talk about it? Whereas I feel like Pride opens the discussion up for everybody, especially when like there are people that aren't in the community at Pride. Yeah, I think it's really important to keep pushing back. Also, people seem to think that we don't, as like the UK, we don't have like a position, or like we shouldn't have to fight for other countries, but we have an obligation to help the community no matter where they live. Like I'm sure Rishi Sunak would like to call us one of the greatest nations, and we have an obligation as one of those, in brackets, in quotation marks, greatest nations, to help people that aren't as like privileged as us here.